chapel on Sunday, we all come to pray, but we're back for warriors, keeping the whispers away. In suits and in skirts, we're the rebels you say, talking about life and dreaming of a different day. On the back row we stay, in the back we don't sway, just let the sermon flow, we're on the back row.
It is time for another episode, another edition, another check-in, another time that we take the time with whatever we're doing in our life. Likely, maybe you're mowing the lawn, maybe you're on the treadmill, you're on a long drive. It's the Cultural Hall. For the next about hour, you're going to hear things that you're going to go, nope, I don't agree with that at all. And then things like, nope, I don't disagree with that at all. You're going to hear oftentimes personal speculation about the church. You're going to find personal reflection about how the church has changed and or affects people. You're going to hear news, likely. I shouldn't overpromise how much news you're going to get in a news episode. You're going to get road traveling tales. You're going to get, in this particular episode, a road journal of driving from Texas to North Carolina. You're going to get the benefits of General Conference that have nothing to do with the church. That's a promise that I'll give you as well for this episode of Articles of News. And my friend Verlin, the news wizard, he's here. No chains. Thank you for leaving that to
No chains. I was trying to think, what could I add? I thought, I could wear something totally different. 2 hats. No, that wouldn't look very good.
You can just be a wizard.
That works for me.
I liked, I'm not sure if you've listened to the episode with Taylor.
I have.
He said, he's not wearing a wizard hat or carrying a staff. There may be something for you with that. Listen, around Halloween, there's no reason.
I thought your point was very well made, where you said that the fact that several of us were wearing chains, that was in honor of him. We weren't mocking him in any way. It was appreciation for who he is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that there is a YouTube channel if you do want to see what all of us look like. I also loved that someone after your road trip diaries was like, "It's not what I thought he looked like."
Yeah, well, I appreciated the fact, I think it was Ash, right, who said I looked like someone in particular, which I found particularly funny.
Yes, I can see that. But I always love, and I used to get this a lot with working in radio, when people are like, "You are not what I thought you would look like," and I always would follow up the question, because I'm the guy. Well, what did you think I would
exactly? Yeah. Well, I have a good story about that.
Please, and.
Yeah, so long ago, pre-video conference, I was at a very large technology company, IBM, and we did a lot of stuff via email. Mm-hmm. And there was one particular coworker that I emailed with all the time. We never talked on the phone. It was always email back and forth. I was at a conference one year, and I looked over and I saw this gentleman. I saw his name, and I said, "Oh, I need to go introduce myself." I walked up to him and said, "Hey, I'm Verlin Yaud." And he just stared at me like deer in the headlights. And then he started laughing. And I said, "What are you laughing about, Robert?" And he said, "Well, Verlin, to be honest, I pictured you as a large black woman."
Okay. And where do you go from there in the conversation?
From then on out, Robert and I had a great relationship.
Oh, well. Yeah. I didn't picture you that way. I want you to know that. I don't know how I pictured you. People would oftentimes to me say, "We thought that you would have darker hair and be taller and be skinnier." And that was almost like universal, that people thought that I'd be like 6'4" with dark hair, super pale. And that would be the description that they would have of me. Now, that's radio people. That's not just, podcast or show people. That's the radio people, all of them. 6'2" to 6'4", dark hair, even though we frequently talked about the fact that I had red hair or light skin, for whatever reason, they thought me of a tall, pale person.
I'm trying to figure out where the pale came from. Maybe because they thought you were in a radio control room all day.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. People are weird that way. But I'll tell you what, kind of relaying this into everything with the show, I met Taylor, yeah, I met Taylor One Chain Westbrook in person. I'd never met him before.
Fantastic.
And we live in the same state. You I've hung out with multiple times. He lives 30 minutes down the road.
That's right.
Finally got to hang out with him.
That's usually the way it works, though, right?
Yeah, but it was weird.
It was weird. What was
Yeah,
weird about it?
because he was so I was emceeing an event and he's like, "Hey, I'm here." And then I saw him and we have lots in common in this space, but I think
Right.
for a brief moment neither of us knew what to do in real life space.
What do we
Maybe
have in
I'm
common?
speaking.
IRL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm speaking for him as well. Maybe he didn't feel that at all, but I definitely was like, "Oh, hey, I'm like this in real life, so I got to go do this, and then I'll kind of check back." And I didn't want to. I get was we sort of volleyed back and forth on how that relationship in real life would look, and
Well, you were working at the time too, which
yeah,
makes it difficult.
in
Yeah.
fairness to me,
Yeah.
it's like when my wife is with me at work too. I'm like, "I love you. Also, I'll see you in 5 hours."
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. So Taylor, I love you. I'll see you in 5 hours, I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
And we have to figure out this way to all of us get together as host and co-hosts.
Yes.
New co-hosts, old co-hosts,
I'm gonna
maybe co-hosts that aren't on such great relationships, but
Sure.
just do
We're
it.
gonna I have decided based on your sort of prompting sometime in November that
Okay,
we
okay,
will do some sort of
okay.
thing, and I'll give everyone like months notice
Oh, great.
so that
Okay,
they can
cool.
say, "Hey, when is it?" Great. Okay, I can be there, or inevitably I can't be there.
Well, I guess we don't want to do it over conference weekend like a mission reunion.
No, no, come on. Come on. I mean, we could, but no, come
We could.
on.
Yeah.
Now I have to tell you this too because I think it's funny. If
Oh,
people don't know, if you're just listening to the Cultural Hall for the first time, we did a thing that I hadn't really done before. I'm wishing that I do had done, will do more of this. I kind of turned the Instagram over to you, and then you took us on a road trip. I want to hear about the road trip, and then I have to tell you something very, very funny that happened because of your road trip.
okay, great. Well, what do you want to know about the road trip?
Well, so when last we chatted, the truck is not working. Are we gonna, is this, and I looked at you and I was like, Godspeed, man. I hope you get the truck and I hope you get to get home.
Well,
Uh,
first you were questioning whether the truck really existed or
well,
not.
sure, because that's the kind of person I am.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. Last we spoke, there was a problem with the transmission, and the truck would not shift out of first gear, and the current owner felt terrible about it.
Yeah. So you could
Took
have made it home, but it would have been a real long trip.
It would have been a very slow trip. Yeah, yeah, and he would have had to reduce the price.
Sure.
So the good thing is the problem was discovered by him, not by me,
Hmm.
prior to purchasing the vehicle. The mechanics figured out it was actually a fairly simple problem, something to do with vacuum and hoses in the truck. I'm not a mechanic at
Yeah,
all, despite having just bought an old truck.
both of our eyes just glossed over. It's got to be a
Yeah,
vacuum fit, and we were like, okay,
that's what it is,
all right.
the vacuum, whatever. So, long story short, it took him a couple of days to fix it. I think we taped on a Thursday,
Hmm.
and it was fixed by Monday evening.
Nice.
And
Great.
so I flew into Dallas on Monday, had to spend an extra night in Dallas that I wasn't planning on, but that's okay.
Which is punishment.
Yeah, that's all right. And so on Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, just as the bank branch opened, I met the seller who happened to be named John Taylor, not a member of the church,
Okay.
and not related to the church in any way.
Did you sit him across a cashier's check and did you do the thing like that in the 80s we would have heard of where it's like I was drawn to be able to purchase your truck and before I do so
We need to
and
have
no
an
pressure.
opening prayer. Yes.
I just
No.
need you to know your namesake. And you slide the check over and inside the envelope is also your testimony, but you don't mention it. You just sort of leave it with him.
Oh, you mean I handed the check to him inside a Book of Mormon. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that's what I
Okay.
was
Sorry.
supposed to
No.
do.
Okay. Okay.
No, no. So we met at the bank branch. He pulled up in the truck. His father-in-law had followed him in another vehicle and sat out in the parking lot. And we sat there with a person from the branch who was perfectly nice and welcoming. And she served as notary, and we signed the bill of sale, and I handed over the check to him, and he made the deposit, and then he handed me the keys, and off he went, and off I went.
Now you did it legitimate. Like when I sell stuff, I always am like, yeah, I'll say it was $1, so you don't have to pay the tax on it. You actually did like the whole actual price of the thing.
Well, and because it had to be paid in a cashier's check.
Yeah. Okay.
Or cash. And my problem was I didn't really want to carry that much cash across the country in a
No.
backpack. So,
so you get the truck, and then it's you and.
so I get the truck, and it's me in the open road, and I called my wife and said, I've got the truck, and she said, well, what are you going to listen to on your way? And I said, honestly, for the first day, I'm just going to leave the windows open and listen to the truck.
Oh,
I
yeah,
need to
smart.
learn what it sounds like, and when it sounds bad, when it sounds good. So off I went, windows rolled down, and drove for, gosh, a good 8 hours that day, making it to Little Rock, Arkansas.
And no freeway. You
No
said, I'm not doing
interstate
it.
freeways.
I need to make sure that I hear the truck under 65 miles an hour, making my trip considerably longer because I refuse to drive the freeway.
Yeah, everything accurate except the under 65 miles per hour,
Okay.
because I'm known for exceeding the speed limit on regular occasions.
Careful.
But I'll knock on wood again. No unexpected pullovers by any vehicles with flashing lights.
Awesome.
Thoroughly enjoyable trip. Drove to Arkansas on the first night. Second night, I ended up in, oh gosh, where was I now? Tupelo,
Somewhere in
Mississippi,
Tennessee.
right?
Oh, Mississippi.
Or Tupelo, Mississippi. And then the
Okay.
third night was in Cherokee, North Carolina.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I had a couple of other things going. Number one, I didn't want to be on any interstate freeways, so I avoided those. Number two, I was trying to have a little contest with myself to see how cheap I could pay for a decent hotel.
Ooh, okay.
And so my goal was, my standard was, it had to be a hotel that I would let Susan stay in by herself.
Oh,
if
okay.
she had
All right.
to. Okay, so hold that standard.
Susan is his wife, everyone who doesn't know who Susan is. Not just a random woman that we're like, Susan, would you stay here? Who's this? I don't know. Hey. Okay.
It's also my daughter-in-law, Susie, but in this case, Susan. And so I used the tools available to me, things like Hotwire and Hotels.com, to try to figure out the cheapest hotels I could get. And for the first few nights, I had an average hotel cost of $50.
Shut up. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Welcome
And
to the
decent
South.
hotels.
Yeah.
All decent hotels, no bed bug risk, none of that.
Yeah.
Until the last night. And I thought, well, I'll spoil myself a little bit. In Cherokee, there's a casino, a Native American run casino, and they have a beautiful hotel.
Okay.
And I found a rate for $75.
Yeah, you
And
did.
I thought, awesome. I'm gonna raise my average a little bit, but I'll still stay well under $100. Well, of course, I checked in, and as I checked in, they said, okay, here's the $75 rate, and there's a resort fee
Yes.
of $37.
Boo.
Busted my $100 limit,
Yep.
but that's all right.
But did you sleep well in
I slept
Cherokee,
very
North
well,
Carolina?
and the meal was fantastic. It was actually a Guy Fieri restaurant in the casino that had a great menu and very well done.
Did you gamble?
No gambling. No.
Are you a gambler?
Occasionally, I've played a game here or there. I am not a slot machine person.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to play blackjack. That's a simple game. And so I walked through. It was surprisingly busy for, I guess this was a Thursday night. I don't know. Yeah, Thursday night. Very busy in the casino. But I think they were having a convention there, where there was lots of people that had forgotten to take off their name tags.
Yeah. Yeah. You never remember when you go to a conference.
Yeah.
Ever. even if you're like, oh man, I don't want to look like those people that didn't take that off. No, you still wear it.
That's right.
You forget to take it off.
And the other thing I did is, you told me to, look out for kooky things to look for. So I was looking for signs and markers along the way and took a few little detours to see things. I saw the original marker for where the Louisiana Purchase was first surveyed once we had purchased it.
Well, look at that.
Really cool. Out in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana. And they had a huge amount of rain the last few days, so the swamp was completely flooded and underwater. But they had a boardwalk that I walked out on. The boardwalk was probably a half a mile long.
Wow.
And walked out into the middle of this swamp, and there's this marker that was put there by the original surveyors. and a monument to go along with it. So that was pretty cool.
Was there a little note next to that that's like, if we continue as we continue, this will be completely underwater by 2040? Global warming is an actual thing.
No, there was no
Please
climate
observe
change
science.
marker.
Yeah, no.
No
Okay,
climate
okay,
change marker.
okay, okay. Yeah, 'cause it's
And then
not real. That's why.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then I found the town that is the rice capital of the United States. Did you know how
What?
much rice is grown in Arkansas?
I
My
I
gosh,
had no idea.
incredible amounts. And there's a city, Stuttgart, Arkansas, which the entire economy is rice. And when you pull into the city, all you smell is cooking rice and processed rice.
That's
It was
incredible.
hilarious. Um,
Now,
and
now let me ask you this: does the
yeah.
sign, because it's a miss if it doesn't? I'm going to write the mayor. Welcome to Stuttgart, Arkansas. It's nice to meet you. If the sign doesn't say that, it's a miss. It's a miss.
It's a miss, but they might be accused of being culturally insensitive.
No, well, I guess that's a fair point, but like if you are deliberately, like if you are not trying to be anything else, but like it's rice to meet you,
Yeah,
maybe
it
that is
could be. But
okay.
there would be that constituency, that would say, you're
Mm.
making fun of Asian Americans.
Yeah, no,
So,
we're not. See, we make rice in this town. Like
yeah.
that's the heavy-handed thing that the mayor has to do, where it's like or like even maybe an asterisk next to the sign in the welcome town where it says it's rice to meet you, and then asterisk next to rice, and it says, just so you know, it's because we make more rice here than anywhere else in the world, not because of any shoulder of any
The
whatever,
small print.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the surprises. Another surprise, I love music,
Hmm.
and I actually kind of love blues music.
Okay.
Whenever I'm in Chicago, I go to blues clubs. I love kind of the American genre of the blues. And so I noticed on the map that I was going to be somewhere close to Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is
Okay.
where the National Blues Museum is.
Oh.
So I thought, okay, I'll slide into Clarksdale, take a little
Uh-huh.
detour, pull up to go to the museum, and notice there's a big crowd in front of the museum and a big stage set up. And as I'm walking up, the band kicks in, and it's a bunch of local high school students playing the blues, which
Okay.
was kind of cool. And I thought that's great. I went up to the museum itself, and they wouldn't let me in. They said, we're closed for this private event today. I said, what's the private event? They said, well, we're having our annual blues festival today, and we have some special guests. And I said, well, who are the guests? And they wouldn't tell me.
Uh,
So I thought, well, I'll go out and I'll listen to these students play the blues for a while, which is kind of cute. Well,
sure.
we're out there and they're playing the blues, and who walks onto stage but Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top?
Get out.
And he starts rocking with them, and he is singing along with them, and he's pointing to who he wants to solo next. And it's, a 12-year-old girl plays a solo, and then a 17-year-old guy, and then the keyboardist who looks like he's around 15, and then the drummer who looks like he may be in high school. He's just helping them all rock out. So I sat there and for 30 minutes and listened to
Gee,
Billy Gibbons, ZZ Top, and a student blues band play,
that's
which was very cool.
incredible. And did you
That
think and did you think this is exactly what Richie was talking about when he said go to all the different places?
Exactly. I said I wouldn't have had this experience had it not been for Richie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And
I
and
appreciate that
then
you said that, but yeah, right.
and then realized that Clarksdale is where the famous myth or legend, however you want to look at it, is of Robert Johnson, one of the original bluesmen. And for those that don't know, there's a myth and legend that Robert Johnson went to this famous crossroads in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and went through a little bit of a procedure, and he ended up selling his soul to the devil in order to have the best blues guitar skills ever.
Mm.
And so I went to that crossroads, took a photo, of course, because
Did you sell your soul to the devil?
I
Tell me.
didn't. Well, there was a lot of
Uh,
traffic in the middle of the crossroads. I didn't want to go out there and dig a hole and, bury a box with,
sure,
parts of my body in it.
sure,
So
sure, sure. And the devil's on the water anymore for
that's,
us. Yeah, he's not in the crossroads. I get it. I get it.
yep, yep. And then
Oh,
had some incredible barbecue there too.
and just an incredible time, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Uh, and you shared it on the Cultural Hall's Instagram, some of it, so that
I
people
did.
can
Yeah.
be able to see. Well, because I am connected to that account, and then I was watching your story and sort of interacting with it, and then I was like, oh, yeah, I'll share it, because I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh, that's super
Yeah.
fun. So I shared it, and it shared it like I was taking that road trip. So I had two different people that were like, hey, you're in my neighborhood. Come and see me. Or not like in my neighborhood, but like you're in my neck of the woods. You want to come and see? And I didn't realize that it had done that. So I'm like, what? No, I'm not, I'm at home. I'm in Utah. Why do you think that I'm? And it wasn't until you
Wait,
had gotten home.
are you saying that I could have had free housing instead of hotels? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, my friends are nowhere that Susan would stay. My friends Susan are nowhere that Susan would stay. So you would
I
want
doubt
nothing.
that.
You would
I
want
doubt that.
nothing to do with that. No, they're great people.
Yeah.
But it was. I was like, what are you even talking about? This makes no sense to me.
So
Uh,
the last vignette, which I didn't post, on the last day, I went to Cherokee, North Carolina, because I had recently read about a rock that I wanted to visit.
a rock?
Yeah, your response is just like Susan's response. You're going to visit a rock? Well,
I mean, I'll
let me
I'll
tell you
reserve
about this
judgment. I'll
rock.
reserve judgment. Maybe I'm interested in a rock, but on just on the level,
The rock is called the Judah Rock,
okay,
after a band of Indians, Native
okay,
Americans. And this rock, according to those that have studied it, it has a bunch of engravings and runes on the rock.
okay,
And according to the scientists who have studied it, the most recent engravings were placed there about 500 AD.
okay.
The oldest markings on the rock, 1500 BC.
Okay.
Who do you think was in the mountains of North Carolina in 1500 BC?
It was the Mormons.
Hey, so I thought there's some adjacency, you know.
Okay.
I'm gonna drop in and see this rock. It's literally out in the middle of nowhere. It's in there. It's on a hill that a cornfield is planted on, and
Hmm.
they've built this neat little monument around it.
Okay.
And you just pull up. There was literally no one else there on a Friday morning. Um, Pulled up and walked around and looked at this rock and said, "Nice, I've seen the rock," and then drove home.
Okay.
So,
And when you were looking at the rock, they're like, yeah, we don't know who this Moroni is. And you're like, wait a minute.
as I looked
Taking
at the
pictures
rock, there was a light that appeared above my. No, no, that did not
above the
happen.
brightness of the sun.
No.
I appreciate that. Uh, babe, I'm gonna stop and see a rock and then I'll be home. All right, whatever. Fine. I knew
Yep.
what you were when I married you, she said.
She's patient with me. Exactly.
Yep. I want to share a couple quick emails, and then a YouTube kind of comment that I thought was interesting, and then
Nice.
we'll take a break. We'll get into actual articles of news. First one, this is from the last time we recorded. This is Danny Haroldson. He says, "I'm currently listening to the episode of the Culture Hall where you talk about the Patty Shack. I've seen that place several times as I've driven down 4800 South. This is the one where you and I went to lunch." He says he sees it on my way to Lowe's, but I haven't tried it yet. Looks like I'm going to have to give in to the temptation and try it out sometime. Thanks for the info and have a good day. Thank you, Danny Haroldson, for
Did the
listening.
Patty Shack win Best of Utah?
So I didn't go to the ceremony last night, and they don't
Uh,
put it online until after the second night occurs. They
okay.
do different
Okay.
categories each night, but they don't announce the category at the actual celebration unless someone in that category has bought a ticket because they have like 700 categories.
Sure.
And so I message them. I'm like, it's a night's over. Listen, I'll pay you $10. Tell me whether or not. Well, you'll find out later. This fine. I'll keep my $10.
Fine.
That's fine. Second email is this is from Tyler. Tyler says, just wanted to pass my well wishes along to old Taylor One Chain. I love hearing from him, how he's coming along in his journey. I wish him the best, and I hope we keep getting to hear from him in the future. You have wonderful co-hosts, of which, Verlin, you are one, and that's Tyler, who's up in Alberta, Canada. And I thought that was very kind. I'm not
It
going to share.
was. I really appreciated your last episode with Taylor. I thought he was particularly vulnerable and the
Yeah,
way that he talked about his personal life. I love the approach he's taking.
yeah, I knew that about him, and I didn't, I wasn't trying to get him to talk about that at all, but
Hmm.
I can remember sort of being similarly aged and similarly just like, what in the world?
Yeah.
What should I do kind of thing. And,
I'll
it
tell
was,
you, I think Peru is a great thing to do. I'm not sure clown college for
yeah.
me, but
Listen, we
to
all
each
have
his
our
own.
own. It's our own. One day, if I ever get the opportunity to speak at general conference, because on occasion they don't have, the
Boy, it's been a
chair
long
sitters.
time.
Yeah.
Long
Oh, it
time.
hasn't been that long. They had those teenagers a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I guess so.
My talk will be the metaphorical clown college. That will be what my talk will be about.
Oh, let's start lobbying.
Yeah,
Let's
please. That's how the church works. Lobby for it. Lobby for it. Um, and then I'm not going to share the contents of the email, but I just want to share. I got an email from Daniel, and I won't say anything more than that. And I just wanted to say thank you for your email, Daniel. I am honored that you would email me and share those things with me. Maybe we'll talk about those things later, but Daniel, thank you. It means a lot. I have reflected multiple times in the last couple of weeks about how, sometimes I think that this is just like a silly little thing, but I recognize to the people that it impacts a lot. And so I'm trying to take that responsibility a little bit more serious, or like the weight of that a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but only to say that it is meaningful the way that people come to the cultural hall and share in the cultural hall and what it means. So not missed on me, everyone.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, okay. Preach.
Amen.
All right. So this is from A Brewster 29. This is on a YouTube video comment. And I share this for two reasons. One, I thought it was interesting insight. And two, I need to let you guys know that we, in fact, have a YouTube and you should subscribe to it, even if you don't want to watch it. Because if we're being honest, like it's good for a good visual check-in. Oh, that's what he looks like. That's what they were talking about at that moment. But we don't really gear it for video right now, unless you really like to look at us. I was at that podcast conference, and they say like 20% of people will watch if there's a video component. They'll come into their home and watch their video podcast on TV. I don't know that I would ever do that ever for a podcast. So if this show you want to do that, that's great. I personally, maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah, you get to see little things like who's drinking what on what
Yeah,
days,
yeah.
right?
Sparkling water. I got to go get a Red Bull in a second when we take an articles of news break. But seriously, I'm just anyway. It's that time
This
of
was my
year.
this was my pre-podcast beverage.
There you go. A little protein from
Little
Costco.
protein. Yep.
The one that makes your breath smell like you swallowed a dead cat. The
This
worst.
one is the one that I can tolerate better than any of them.
Well, sure, they're fine as far as they taste, but if you don't drink a lot of water immediately following those or brush your
Oh
teeth,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, you either ate a dead cat that had been dead for several days, or you had one of those shakes from Costco.
From
All right,
Costco.
let me share this with you. Says I'm not thrilled. I think this was where we were talking about Elder Gilbert being the commencement speaker at BYU.
Hmm.
For context. Says, I'm not thrilled by the appointment of Elder Gilbert as commencement speaker. While I'm saddened by aspects of the crackdown at BYU, I respect and value the aim of BYU to support church teachings. And frankly, if it weren't Elder Gilbert leading the charge, it would be someone else. What bothers me is that he feels the need to go beyond supporting current policies and practices with a message of permanence that simply cannot be justified looking at a history of changes. Take his elevator metaphor, for example. He asserts that the church will never change its stance on any given issue just because those around it do, which I agree with, but that should not rule out the potential of making change for the right reasons and based upon revelation sought. Elder Gilbert never addresses the possibility of the church having something wrong in the first place due to societal influence, and in the videos he shares of people standing in the elevator, I'm pretty sure there's even one where everyone starts off facing backwards. Considering that the church has disavowed past teachings on race and even cited contemporary cultural influence as the genesis for those teachings, I just don't see how anyone can rule out future changes on other beliefs. Commitment to the church now should not rule out the active pursuit of further light and knowledge. But I really don't think that Elder Gilbert sees it that way, so I'm predicting a retrenched message to graduates not to let the world change them. So I just thought that was a pretty insightful and, if we're being honest, pretty lengthy YouTube message. So thank you to A. Brewster.
Yeah, they took some time thinking about it,
Yeah.
let alone writing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And to comment on it, I mean, I think that I don't know that I agree with all of it necessarily. I can say I don't agree with none of it. I agree with some of it, certainly. That was a weird way of saying I agree with some of it.
Yeah, it seems like a legitimate point of view based on their opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about this just real quick, and then maybe we'll get a news story in this whole thing. General conference, benefits of general conference that aren't religious. Go.
Benefits of general conference that aren't religious.
Yes.
I get to spend more time with my family, sitting, watching things and just being near family members.
Yep, stuff to talk about with family and pajama church.
I didn't wear any pajamas because I was at my mother and father's house and there were people coming and going. So I wasn't in pajamas.
You didn't want to be an embarrassment. Okay, but you were, and it gave you the excuse to be with your parents. That's
right. And I did spend half of a session working on a fruit tray.
Which is delicious. And you probably
for which I received compliments at the artistry of said fruit tray.
Do you have pictures of said fruit tray?
I do not.
Well, then it didn't happen.
I went tropical. I went papaya, mangoes, pineapples. It was a tropical theme.
I'm in the same state and I could have benefited from tropical fruit tray and I didn't.
You're right.
Okay, so here's others. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Your fire alarms in your house. Change them at general conference. You're supposed to change the batteries every 6 months.
So I got lazy and I installed 20-year fire alarms that have a battery that lasts 20 years.
Don't trust it. Don't trust it. Every single general conference. Okay, you ready for another one?
Yep, I'm ready.
Furnace filters.
That's a good one.
Yep. Now, I have one that I have to change every month, but my other one is every 6 months because it's those thick ones.
Yeah.
General conference.
Okay, that's a good way to do it. I'll go change my filter and I'll remember general conference from now on.
And you can set a lot of stuff with that where you're like, I don't want to do that very often. When do I want to do it? General conference.
That's right.
There are others. If you have others, contact at theculturalhall.com. That is the email address. Send that along. Non-religious benefits of general conference, contact at theculturalhall.com. Let's take a break. When we come back, not only will I have a Red Bull, but we will also have actual articles of news. Let me take just a moment to tell you all about bestdjinutah.com. That is the website where you can learn all about me. Oh, sure, you probably feel like you know me, but you know me in the Cultural Hall sense. I have a DJ company now, 6 of us strong. Great event hosts, MCs, and DJs that can be able to make whatever event you have coming up absolutely spectacular, and hope you will reach out to us. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Richie, I don't live in Utah. Would you travel? Absolutely, I would travel. Would they travel? Absolutely, they would travel. Whatever your event is, doesn't have to be a wedding or a community event. We can do all sorts of things. I can teach you line dancing. I can dance with you. We can do partner dancing. We can do all kinds of things, but we can't do any of it if you don't hit me up. You can go to bestdjinutah.com. You can fill out the form to get more information or get a quote, and then I will get right back to you. Find out why I'm so busy and why sometimes we don't get episodes of the Cultural Hall. It's all because of bestdjinutah.com. Here in the second half of Articles of News, we in fact do actual articles of news. Hit it, Peter.
You can't lose articles of news.
And away we go. Now, Verlin, here's the deal. Let's do some actual articles of news. So I'm not going to get in your way. You don't get in mine. You have sort of proposed an order of some of this news, but I'm already going to bust it up. I'm going to take it with 2 stories of things that if we're being honest, if I was going to do the thing 2025, I would be going to them. And the first one is the Easter pageant down in Mesa, Arizona. Huge. I don't think I understood how big of an undertaking this is, and it's going on now, and I'm not going down there and will miss it. One of the few pageants that the church is still doing. Have you ever been?
I've never been to the Mesa pageant.
And are you like where you're like, yeah, that'd be fun to go do?
Totally. Growing up, there was an Oakland Temple pageant And I participated. I was actually in the chorus, the choir for the Oakland Temple pageant for several years.
Okay. Okay. Cool experience.
Fantastic
Yep.
experience. Changed the way I think about lots of things. And I still, when I'm stressed, I still find myself humming songs from that temple pageant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They had their own kind of things like
Complete their own complete score, their own complete music, script, everything. And it was all about a combination of the restoration of the church along with the mission of Jesus Christ while he lived on earth.
that's incredible.
It was a fantastic pageant, and I'm still a little sore that the church disbanded all of these other pageants.
You know why though, right?
Why?
When you went to them, you went, this is not, we should
But
not be
the
doing
Mesa
this.
pageant was not disbanded.
Sure, but I think the Mesa pageant is really, I mean, and let's make sure that we're identifying it properly. It is the Jesus the Christ Mesa Easter pageant. So let's make
That's
sure
right.
that
That's
we
right.
identify. I think it's very Christian and very Jesus based. And like the Hill Cumorah and also the Manti pageant were very like history of our church based. And I think that the optics in whom they cast in some of the roles was what the problem was. They could have
Hmm.
probably rescripted them, but when you had a bunch of people from Manti, Utah playing Native American people and some of these other things, it very quickly was like, guys, we cannot continue to do this.
Yeah, I think things could have been improved,
Mhm.
but I had such an experience as a youth, and honestly, testimony building experiences
Sure.
participating in that pageant far more than EFY or youth conference, which I loved as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they could have altered them, morphed them into better things.
Agreed. And I'll go one step further and I'll say in the next 10 years, you will see a retrenchment of the church in things that get people to come back together again. We
I hope
are
so.
we are home centered and church
Word-centered,
supported,
church supported. Yeah.
but I think that you are going to see, hey, we need to be within our communities, and you will see a large community thrust, even more so than it already is, to incorporate all your neighbors to and do all that kind of stuff in the next little while. Maybe that means bringing back road shows, which, by the way, I just sent some VHS tapes off to Legacy Box to get them digitized of my grandma's road shows. And the first batch came back. It's incredible.
Oh,
In
I'm
fact,
sure
we
they're
don't do road shows
fantastic.
anymore. Oh,
Yeah.
she was there. Most of my ward still remembers has trauma from being in road shows with my grandmother. We'll do it again. We'll do it till it gets that kind of thing.
Nice.
But there's a video of that. I hope we go like on a 5-year cycle or 4-year cycle. So we have, Trek 1 year, we have road show 1 year, we do sports and do the sports like we used to 1 year, like an Olympics or like a World Cup kind of thing, and then we add something else into the mix.
Yeah, maybe music.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And do those things in a big way, and that becomes a focus, and we invite everyone in. Let's do that.
I will ask that we do not do dance festivals.
Oh, now come on.
Although
You hate a
uh,
dance festival?
let's just say I hated the dancing. The
Uh-huh.
socializing part I loved. I took full advantage.
Did you have the two
But
left feet, Verlin? Is that it?
yeah, let's just say I'm not the most natural of dancers.
Uh, but the Easter pageant going all the way back, going on. They've redone everything there in Mesa. I need to go. I don't know why I don't go. I don't know why I don't make it a priority, but I need to just go and do it and then have the experience of like, hey, this is what it was. Otherwise, it may be very well become to me what the Hill Cumorah pageant was, which is a thing that I always wanted to go to that I never got to attend because it went away and never came back.
I love the Hill Cumorah pageant. Been there several times. The Mesa pageant is running through April 19th,
Hmm.
except Sunday and Monday. I'm not sure why we don't do it on Monday night. I understand the whole family home evening thing, um, but anyway, it would be a great family home evening activity. And it
Sure.
says nearly 10,000 people are watching nightly.
Yeah.
That's that's 80,000 people are watching this.
That
That's
could be
fantastic.
10,002 if we would have pulled our act together,
You're
Verlin.
right. You're right. Yeah.
It's also worth just a brief side mention when I in my mid-20s, there was a local director and music guy who put together a show called Mission the Musical.
Oh,
And I got to play the lead, the guy who, was supposed to go on the mission, but he wasn't sure if he was going to or not.
were you being a rebel?
Well, kind of, right?
Okay.
In fact, that's how, longtime listeners of the Cultural Hall, that's how I met Just Joni, the former co-host.
Mm-hmm.
She played my mom in that show, because she looks generationally older than I. And then my
Sorry,
girlfriend
Joni.
in the show was like 11 years younger than I. It was just hilarious. But it was done like in the rock musical style, right? It's like the
Ah,
sooner
nice.
I go, the sooner I'll be home. It was so fun to do, and only
I-
something you could do in Utah.
Is this on videotape somewhere?
I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, come on, Richie.
I
We
don't I
need
don't
it.
think so.
We
If
need a
someone has
viewing
it,
party. This is a cultural hall viewing party opportunity.
it there I would imagine probably not. There were some cultural liberties that were taken that should not ever come to the surface for anyone. So contact theculturalhall.com if for some reason maybe there is a video available of it. So
Yes.
that's one thing. The Mesa Easter pageant, one thing I need to do. The Mormon History Conference is something that I have said every time it comes around. They did it in Kirtland, I think, last year. Uh,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and now it's close to home
It is.
here in Ogden, and I'm like, you know what? I should go. The Mormon History Association's annual conference.
And they picked the controversial town of Ogden, Utah. Any particular reasons you think they pick Ogden over any other town in Utah?
Go on.
I mean, of course, there's the history of the railroad, right? And the
Sure.
final spike is driven just outside of Ogden. We
Well,
won't go into
you
the
say
political reasons that happened instead of Salt Lake, but
you
that's a
won't.
different story.
Yeah, and just out of Ogden is a little bit of a stretch. If
Yeah,
you've ever
yeah.
been to Golden Spike, are we still on the right road? Is this the right place? Where are we? Is where that
Yeah,
is.
kind of like the Louisiana Purchase marker.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ogden, my impression, I mean, I was born in Utah. I didn't spend a lot of time in Utah. I went to
Mhm.
BYU. My wife's family, one side of the family is from Roy and Ogden, Utah. And my impression of Ogden, yeah, I like to call Ogden the more interesting city of Utah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's got more cultural color in it than I think most other cities in Utah have.
Yeah. I think the architecture in Ogden is gorgeous. I think that Ogden is an interesting like if Utah were to have a melting pot, it is
Yes,
Ogden
that's exactly the way I think of Ogden. Yeah.
because of you got the military base with Hill Air Force Base, and you've got affordable housing so that anyone can buy a house. If you can't buy a house in Salt Lake County, you can probably buy one in Weber County, Ogden.
Yeah. Yeah, it always
Um,
seemed that also had some of the rebels,
yes,
people that were a little off the beaten path,
yeah,
right? It's kind of the antithesis to Utah County,
yeah,
which I appreciate.
yes. It's a cool town. I love it. It's the butt of a lot of jokes. You
Hmm.
know, if you want to go get if
Well,
you
it's been featured in nationally released movies like Chevy Chase movies, right?
yeah, is that Fletch?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's been featured in other movies too, I'm sure. Not just but yeah, a cool town. That's where the Mormon History Association's annual conference is going to be. It's the 5th through the 8th at the Ogden Echoes Conference Center. Now because I think that I might be able to attend part of this, have
Hmm.
already been in communication because it's Do the Thing 2025. I sort of came in hot on that, and then my fire burned out, and then you reinvigorated that fire for me with buying the truck and doing the road trip. If I'm going to do the thing 2025, I need to go to the Mormon History annual conference. I sent them a message and said, "Listen, I'm not paying for 4 days if I'm only going to one. Can I
Right.
buy a day pass, please?" And they sent me a message. It's like, "Yeah, email this address. We'll figure something out." And I'm like,
Oh, good
"I'm
for
not
them.
trying to get it for free. I'm not trying to skirt a rule or whatever, but like it." they do a great job as far as the conference. People need to be paid, the scholarship, the building, all that stuff. I recognize all of those things. But I think like if you buy the whole thing and do the tours and all the things, I mean, it's a couple $100 at this thing.
Will
And
they let you take a portable studio and do some interviews?
well, my supposition would be people are too busy and don't want to do that there.
Okay.
But if I really push the issue, probably.
Okay.
But I do, if I'm able to make it, I fully intend on chatting with every single person that I sit in on a session for and being able to share that because I just think that that's the coolest thing. Now, you were
Yeah.
talking about blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Tell me about that. Tell everyone about that.
And you may be able to find some really interesting guests there too.
Yes. Yes. Yep. So hopefully that ends up happening. There, we got through 2 news stories
There we
already.
go.
Check that out.
Hey,
Now
rocking.
you get to pick. Dealer's choice.
Oh my gosh. Let's go to BYU Pathways.
Okay. For
So,
what?
so BYU Pathways, I'm sure everyone's heard of Pathways. If you haven't been following it, over the last several years, Pathways has become the distance learning platform of the church. BYU Idaho used to have their own platform. Pathways was separate. BYU Provo was separate. Everything has coalesced now, and BYU Pathways is the distance learning platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it is slowly being recognized around the world by people realizing how much effort, time, investment, and how much benefit this platform is providing. And so recently, a business professor at Notre Dame, Viva Barktis, made a comment and said, BYU Pathway Worldwide, this investment of your church to bring quality online education at a low cost to the world is extraordinary. I've been on Catholic Relief Services Board. I've worked with World Vision. I've worked with Aga Khan. I'm telling you, BYU Pathway may end up becoming your church's biggest gift to the world, hands down.
Mm.
So currently it's serving 80,000 students in over 180 countries. Do you know how many countries there are in the world?
192?
That's what I thought, somewhere in the 190s, right?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
Unbelievable that we're serving people in 180 of those countries. And I think it's really cool that the church is investing in this platform and making this available, and it's to members and non-members. But I also know, based on experiences of friends and family that are using BYU Pathway, that it's not without its hiccups and warts.
Sure.
And so it's not perfect.
No.
And they're trying to learn, and it's suffering from all of the things that I'll say church technology generally suffers from in terms of some of the challenges. But what an amazing tool! What an amazing way to provide value and benefit worldwide.
And a gospel principle walked out, right? Bringing knowledge.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
the thing that I love
absolutely.
about it. It's like the purest thing. How are we going to help people be able to get, from where they are to where they could be? Education. We can chuck water at them. We can, throw food their way, and that helps. All those things are great. But if people are really going to find themselves in a different position, it is by education and by knowledge so
That's
that they
right.
can be able to have those things to be able to continue to be in a better place and to
If the
continue to
glory
learn.
of God is intelligence, then we're helping raise the human status by providing more and more knowledge. So I think
And,
that's fantastic.
and to that point, I think that we're seeing kind of alongside with the that secondary education like that in the next 10 years. So many of the different podcasts and things that I listen to are like, we're going to look at college in 10 years. It'll still be there. There will still be degrees and all these different things, but you will see a vast difference of how people engage with a higher education because
Yeah.
for a long time it was, well, you listen, if you want table stakes, you have to have a bachelor's degree. And now it's like, no, listen, I need someone who can fix my pipe. You fix this pipe, I will pay you great money. Thank you for doing this. And now you have a great living being a plumber, and that's always sort of been the case, but it was always looked down on as like, oh, you're in the trades. That's too bad. You couldn't get into college, right?
Yeah.
And then vice versa, where people are like, yeah, and I get the degree and then it's guaranteed a job. Nope, it's not. And now you have to pay for that degree. that whole landscape is shifting. And I think
It is.
BYU
It
Pathway is
is.
part of that change.
I think the other interesting thing is in this world where you can work remotely to a
Mhm.
large measure in many occupations, and even more so in the future, the fact that people who are in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, can get a social networking marketing degree, and they can be social marketing experts and still live in Port-au-Prince, Haiti,
Yep.
or someone in Zimbabwe, or someone in Peru. It's amazing. And President Ashton, who is the president of BYU Pathways, is estimating that it will go from 80,000 to 100,000 students this year alone.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Uh, I just think it's so cool. Let's go to this story. We're going to go to West Africa. Continued growth in Africa. I love this. Historic meeting involves 162 church members and sees new districts first time full missionaries sent out. On March 30th, 162 members of the church gathered in Conakry, I'm not sure, Guinea, to be part of the historic meeting when the Guinea district was organized, according to the church's Africa newsroom. Um, the new district comprises the Conakry first and second branches of the Koya branch. Sorry, everyone. I know I'm not pronouncing these correctly. A district is a smaller version of a stake. Each district is made up of branches, and the leader is called a district president. A district can develop into a stake, which is what it will do. Guinea borders the Atlantic Ocean near the countries of Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, Mali, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. The country was formerly known as French Guinea. Before the Sunday meeting, nearly 40 youth, friends, leaders, and full-time missionaries attended a Friday evening fireside, and 2 new full-time missionaries were also recognized as the first to be sent out from this new district. Elder Gao Mao will serve in Nigeria, and Elder Mamadi Kandi will serve in Kenya. The growth is cool. These missionaries, these pioneers, these people doing the thing for the first time. Just when we thought, there's no growth that could be, we went to Africa and it went and blew up.
I think the church reported in General Conference, or related to General Conference, that in the last year the church grew by 380,000 members.
Yeah,
And
incredible.
a large portion in Africa. What I love about this is we talk about huge stories like Pathways with 100,000 students enrolled. And then we can talk about a new district being formed in Guinea in West Africa, and 162 people attending the main session and 40 youth attending a fireside. The church is making a difference on a very personal level.
Yeah, micro
And that's
and
wonderful.
macro.
Yep.
Where would you take us next? We got about 10 minutes.
Let's go to, how about we talk about General Conference, but maybe a couple of topics that aren't related to the talks themselves.
All right, you take one of them and I'll take the other, but I'll let you start so I know which way I'm going.
Okay, I'm going to take the fact that for the first time ever, General Conference was broadcast on national television in Slovenia.
Which is interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
The Baltic states, we're talking about a place where missionary work has been very difficult in the past. But national television in Slovenia, I believe the network is called Project 12 or something like that, broadcast the entirety of General Conference across the country of Slovenia. And they had such a good experience with it that they're planning on doing the same thing again in the fall, and actually broadcasting further into Croatia and Serbia, where they also broadcast. So national TV. Here in North Carolina, we don't get it on local television. We don't get it on broadcast television at all. We just watch.
Because what is local television? I can't tell you the last time I watched a local TV station, because I don't know that I even get it. I probably do.
Well, I mean, I was at my parents' and I was watching KBYU before conference started. My mom said, "Well, don't we need to change to KSL?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, we're watching KBYU. It's going to be right here." And the same, you can watch it anywhere in the world on the internet, of course.
Sure.
But for a country to put it on, national broadcast television, that's very cool. That's like NBC or ABC doing it here.
Yeah, huge deal.
Yeah.
And then the other part of General Conference, a shout out, because I think things like this are funny. District Coffee Co., which is a company, it's a coffee shop here in Salt Lake, in downtown Salt Lake, It's near the conference center. They decided to take advantage of all the foot traffic, the nearly 20,000 people that come and go for
Per
each
session.
session.
My gosh.
uh, During conference weekend, they posted a big sign out front alerting the thousands of faithful streaming into the sessions of a special deal. Diet Coke, this weekend only. Try it dirty with dozens of syrup flavors and cream. Uh, as people walked by their coffee shop, and
I'd love to know what the boost in business was.
I would be curious to know how that was received by folks.
And
My
I'd be curious to know how it was received on Saturday versus Sunday.
mm, well, I mean, it's technically vacation church day. Technically, like you can go out to eat at a restaurant on general conference if the whole family went to the session. On your way home,
Okay, so red iguana is okay on
yeah,
Sunday of
you can
general
stop at the
conference.
Chuckarama. I actually don't know if Chuckarama's open on Sunday or not. I don't think it is. It's a all-you-can-eat buffet for people who don't know what Chuckarama is. Yeah. I would be curious to know that. I also would bet that people would use that A-frame sign and that coffee shop as an example of the slippery slope.
I'm
They,
sure.
they get you in there now for Diet Coke, but then you need a
Then you
caffeine
smell the
hit again
coffee.
another time. And
Mm,
then are you in? I bet most people just saw it as a joke and hopefully were fairly lighthearted about it and went,
I
yeah,
hope
okay,
so.
okay.
I hope so.
Hey,
Well, and trading on the dirty soda trend. I mean,
sure.
they were on point.
Did you listen to that episode with our friends from the Sota shop
I
in Minnesota?
absolutely did. I happened to be in Cherokee, North Carolina when I was listening to that episode.
Good. I haven't had too much feedback, which I guess is good on one way or the other. Contact at theculturalhall.com if you want to reach out about that. I thought it was a pretty fascinating episode. I didn't know where it was going to go.
I
Um,
thought it was great.
yeah,
Yeah,
I thought he seemed like the kind of bishop that if I ever would, I'm not asking to, please don't call me, would
yes,
be. He was
please.
like, yes, I served, and also now I'm done, and I don't
You
have
meet
to
all
do
the
that again.
requirements, right? You're
Yeah.
now married again. You can be a bishop.
I think the wife has to be a member.
I don't think it says that in the handbook.
I don't think it says it in the handbook, but it does say it in the handbook.
Hmm.
He said with a wink and a nod
Hmm.
toward. I'm not interested. It's so much time. Please, like in a different. I honestly, I will be 100% transparent and throw this out there as far as this goes. If I were independently wealthy, if I did not need to work a
Hmm.
job, if I just had enough money and was like, I can live within means and do that, I 1,000% would serve as a bishop. I would do that because I feel like then I could dedicate the amount. I'm being serious. I could dedicate the amount of time to be able to go and to visit that and to serve the people this. I don't understand how people do it.
There was a conference talk on this.
I mean,
How the Lord makes possible for us to stretch beyond what we believe is possible.
yeah, but there's stretch. I get it. I know I'm going to get pushback about this. Stretch beyond anything that we can ever imagine, but you still have to like pay bills and all of these things and do whatever that work is and show up in that place. And I don't do well about balancing anything. It's why you
Ah,
get 10 episodes of the Cultural Hall and then I disappear for 2 weeks. I got in the kick of doing episodes and then, oh, I got this other thing I got to do and be able to do it. But if I could just be like the bishop, come, I'll meet you whenever, we can do that kind of thing. That would be the way that I could steward that calling.
so having lived through this, I testify that miracles do happen
Mm.
for those that get that reference,
Uh-huh.
and that you could do it. And in fact, I think you would be an amazing YSA bishop.
Uh, I don't know.
I
I
know.
just it so here is why I think I would struggle with it. I have a friend of mine. I'll just say his name is Jake. He knows his name is Jake. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. He got called to be a bishop. He and I are similar, not in most ways, but in the ways that if we were ever called to be a bishop, we would do it. We would want to do it in the way that we felt like it needed to be done.
Hmm.
Jake was called as a bishop. I teased him. He was fairly young. It was, he was probably early 30s. to be a bishop. And in Utah, I think that's fairly significant because he was in like a neighborhood ward. It wasn't
Oh
like,
yeah.
an inner city thing where it's like he'll come to church and he just happens to be, whatever the thing is. Uh, anyway, uh, he got called, gave him a hard time. The next time I saw him, I was like, "Do you have cancer? You look
Oh
terrible."
no.
And it hit in trying to be all of the things that calling made him feel like he needed to be. He destroyed his life. Now, destroyed his life for the better and stretched and all those
Yeah.
things. But I just was like, this is not healthy. And he had to start going through therapy and fix all these things and all that and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. That would be the kind of thing that would happen to me, and I don't think that I could do it.
I know you could do it.
Well, I appreciate that. That just goes to show me how much you don't know about me. Okay. Well, let's see. We can do probably one more story. Do you have one in particular that you might like to share, my
Well,
friend?
maybe a couple of quick ones.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
buying more Australian farmland.
Yeah, we did.
So we talked a few months back about thousands of acres that were bought in Australia, and the church continues to do it. And so buying another big piece of farmland in Australia, continuing to increase the church's land holdings around the world. I'm just wondering if, North America was first, Australia seems to be second.
Hmm.
Where's the third place we're going to start buying property?
I mean, I think we got if it is what they say slash what we think it's for, we've got to have some everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think Africa would be a natural place
Yeah.
and how you navigate the rules and laws around that. And I'm surprised we haven't heard more about South America
Hmm.
and farmland there.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I'm on board. Okay, that's a quick story. What else?
Uh, Gosh, there's another one here, but I think it's a story for maybe a longer conversation.
Mhm.
Pride is coming up in Utah, and there's evidently a gay gentleman who dresses as Jesus in Pride and the Pride parades in Utah.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about someone dressing up as Jesus and more specifically gay Jesus?
Yeah, well, so I sort of read it and I was like, is it gay Jesus that the guy is gay and he's dressed as Jesus, or are we purporting that Jesus was a homosexual? And
That's
that's
what I
where
was trying to,
I sort of
yeah.
read into it a little bit. I don't think necessarily that he's saying, hey, Jesus, being a non-heterosexual, right? And then sexuality. That boy, way to open up a conversation at the end of this episode, Verlin. Just a quickie, no big. What I do think is interesting, what I do think is perhaps helpful about it. Maybe I'm being why the guy. I think his name is Josiah. I don't think that's his real name because I tried to find him on social media. I think
Hmm.
that that's probably what he says his name is, or his last
Josiah
name may not
Ryan is
be. Yeah,
according to the report. Yeah.
yeah, it may not actually be that. I've got some friends that I might be able to track him down. He used to be a member of the church, and he did this a few years ago, just cause, and then it sort of blossomed into this much bigger thing as a TikTok account and all these things.
Hmm.
Do I think that it is like a completely wholesome, like, listen, I just want to bring Jesus to the Pride Festival? No, I don't think so. I'm not that naive. Um, a couple of the things that he talks about is like kind of being an onboarding for people to be able to talk about religious trauma, or to recognize religious trauma or face religious trauma that they've had. I can't pretend to know what our LGBTQ brothers and sisters have gone through, so I don't know. But if like a guy dressing up like Jesus at the Pride Festival like starts to help, feel that and starts a process towards some of that, I'm positive towards that. Or what I suspect is maybe a little bit more. I think that there are plenty of LGBTQ folks who love Jesus, who felt like they had to either choose Jesus or choose, for the sake of this conversation, like pride, and probably chose pride, but some part of them still misses Jesus and everything that was. And if that's a thing where they can go, oh, hey, that's kind of fun, and high five. And, he talks about taking thousands of pictures at the Pride Festival. If that's a way that Jesus can be at the Pride Festival, I love every bit of that. I think that might
Yeah.
be a little of my naivety coming through.
As I thought about this, I thought about two sides. Number one, I think I finally realized that it's a gay man dressing as Jesus. I don't think he's trying to portray Jesus as gay.
Yeah.
Number one. Um, and on the positive side, I think having a message that Jesus loves everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there was a general conference talk about it's never too late. You can always come back, and that God and Jesus love everyone. Then I think that's a positive message. And if it helps people come to terms with that and recover maybe from some trauma that they may have, that's wonderful. My only concern is when it becomes commercial.
Interesting. Tell me what you mean by that.
And where it helps someone make money, or it helps someone become notable so that they can make money in other ways. That starts to become uncomfortable for me. And I think you had an episode maybe a year ago or so talking about, these gentlemen who dress up as Jesus and have family photos with Jesus and photos of Jesus with your children. And I think I'm okay with that. And that starts to get on the side of commerciality as well. I hate to commercialize Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try and track that person down and have an interview. I think that's the very thing that we do in the cultural hall. Where
Absolutely.
Listen, I know that you maybe have some hard feelings towards a church, and I can understand that. Let's talk about what this is and what it isn't, because I think it's important for people to know. Certainly, as that is a visible part of the Utah Pride Festival for sure.
Yeah, and to come back around to the beginning of the episode, that's why I started listening to the Culture Hall, because you're not afraid to talk about topics that I may not be comfortable with. And I can gain a better perspective and understanding and appreciation for other people's point of view at the very least.
Well, I appreciate that, certainly, that you listened and then continued to listen, and that that you have stepped into the role that you have stepped into, and for everyone who still continues to do it. It has been an interesting thing as I've reflected as to why I do it, and I'm planning on doing. I've never done a solo episode. It won't be a full hour. Nobody needs that. But talking about what I feel like the Cultural Hall is, that will be a future episode. And I think that what it is for me, for a few people, will kind of surprise them. So I'll tease it that way and say, hey, that's coming up in a future episode.
Nice.
This in closing, that general conference talk that you were just referencing, this probably is going to be missed on you because I think it's a different generation. There was a movie.
Now you're being ageist. I see.
Well, listen. It's just of a certain age, right? It's just of a certain age, not ageist, but that you can always come back to the church. There's a movie that came out probably in the late 80s, early 90s called All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yes.
And Charlie, the dog, wants to go, he dies, and then he wants to go back to Earth to be with his owner. Cry Fest is what this movie is. Right up there next to where the red fern grows. If you love
my gosh,
and you just want to dehydrate yourself,
if you need to cry.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's coming back to Earth, and they're telling him from heaven, you can never come back. You can never come back. When I heard that talk at General Conference, that was all that was echoed in in my mind. You could always come back, right? Was what the thrust of the conference talk was, but it was, you can never come back. You can never come back. And that is why I will not be a bishop. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And if you weren't healthy enough to listen this week, you'll be healthy enough to listen next week.
And then when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you
on the back row
of the
Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.